When you think of art, you think of paintings, sculptures, and ceramics. However, I spoke with Donna Rico and Kat Harrow to get a snapshot of photography's role in art, how photography is used in mixed media, how photography has affected social justice, the history of the craft and the museum, and so much more.
Speaking of modern art, right, you have to remember that photography was very new in 1839. People had never really thought about how magical photography was. You know, they just didn't believe it was an art. They just were like, wow, is this? They called it the daguerreotype was the first photography, and they called it machine de guerre, meaning machine, daguerre machine. So it was like drawing. It was connected to drawing. So the early photography really, blew people's minds because it just was so different from what they were used to.
Photography has affected the art world in a series of ways, making particular waves in landscaping.
Different influences are moving all over the place. Many artists will take a picture before doing a painting. And in terms of landscaping, there were people who came along and took photos of landscapes. So that changed how, the exactness, the detail, the clarity, the light, all of that affected paintings and drawings. Pioneers of the American West, that's what they call themselves, where they would go out and do landscape photography in the 1870s. So that had a strong influence on people would, if they were going to make a painting, they would go out to the landscape. And of course, they couldn't do everything, right? And they'd have to be there doing it. Whereas photography, they could get a picture of it and bring it back. We have in our collection a work by Edward Muybridge, who was one of the early pioneers of this photography in the West.
Photography has been the tool of choice for many social justice movements and advocates across the generations.
Feminism, which is the making moves, and one of the people who is in this exhibit is work by Frida Kahlo, and also photographs of Frida Kahlo by her really good friend Emmylou Packard. It was extremely influential, but I picked her because of the feminist movement, and yeah, she's extremely important. We have March, her story, Women's March. We have a Native American woman who made feminist #1. We have a one from Haiti who's talking about the immigrant story.
The use of photography in social justice has been amplified in the modern era with an increase in accessibility of cameras.
One of the things about photography is that, especially more modern photography, is that it really democratizes the art making process in good and bad ways. You know, with phones and things that we have now, it puts a camera in the hands of every individual. And so everyone feels like they can participate in the process, they can make art. And it allows documentation, and whether that documentation is deemed high art or not, I think it still allows for storytelling to happen in a very different way, and it's not controlled by very few people. It's really accessible to so many.
My name is Anthony Fasone, and this is the Talon Morning News.